Well, that wasn't much fun. The Rays lose to the Tigers 7-1.
It was not fun for anybody that was rooting for the Rays, and we're obviously very passionate because we got red on. So let's get started right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Oh, look at that new intro.
Okay.
Spicy. I put that all together in an evening. Just kidding. It was the network that put it together and didn't really tell us about it, but I saw it here on the video clips. Like, well, let's play it. Let's see what happens. So if you love it, if you hate it, throw it up in the comments. I think it looks pretty sharp, much sharper than what the Rays put forth yesterday evening, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a pretty snazzy intro, which was not an adjective you could use for the offense of how the team looked yesterday. That's for
sure. My name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulysses Zambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every day. Be sure to check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays. You can also find us on X and Instagram at Locked On Rays. And email us anytime. Love the mailbag questions, comments, concerns, hot takes. LockedOnRays@gmail.com. Here's a hot take for you. Just looking at the pitching matchup going in, I know Littell has been very good to this point, but Skubal has been Cy Young worthy to this point that you could pretty much put it on the board, put it on paper that the Rays were going to have a challenging night. And that was certainly the case because everything was working for Tarik Skubal, and Zack Littell didn't have too much help behind him, but he also made some mistakes of his own.
And pretty early mistakes that got you in a hole, right?
Yeah.
Already in the first inning, already getting knocked around a little bit. Look, Littell, I think, has been an amazing story for the Rays, but you also have to realize that this is going to happen to every pitcher. So, of course, it's going to happen to Zack. Right. You don't expect it, I think, from the outside view, like, oh, it's the Tigers. Tigers have gotten better.
They have gotten better. And amazingly, they still have some work to do to fight up the Central because the Indians, I guess, or the Guardians, sorry, that was a mishap. The Guardians just can't lose. They are 16-6 right now. But the Tigers, they have the starting pitching, at least with Skubal. Based on the numbers, they've got one of, if not the best bullpen so far. And they may have enough offense and veteran presence to squeeze into the playoffs. And if we're going to go ahead and talk about standings, 24, 25 games in, the Rays are dead last in the AL East, for what it's worth.
And if you want to get another team up there, is the Royals, too, in the Central. Like, the Royals are not, too shabby either. So It's a different type of Central this year, and it's a different type of AL East this year. Now, again, look, we understand it's early. I particularly don't look at standings really until, like, August. And that's just because I lived through 2011. And so it's very difficult for me to just like look at standings on April, but you're right. They're dead last.
Yeah.
Dead last.
And I think we have to acknowledge and realize, and we've tried to express this over the last couple weeks and months. This is, I would hope, a second half team, a second half surge, just on based on all the injured guys that are planning to come back. Now, if you have additional injuries piled on top of that, i.e. Pete Fairbanks, i.e. Jose Siri, whoever it is, then you may have some more trouble. But reinforcements are on the come up, hopefully to push this team forward. I still don't think they're going to win the division by any means, but I think a wild card is certainly within realm. We definitely shouldn't be talking about, the season's over, this team is crap, 24, 25 games in. I just wanted to acknowledge where they stand as this juncture.
Which, yeah, exactly. We know the names that are coming back soon and later. Soon, hey, Josh Lowe has started his rehab, and apparently, and he went deep. So there's something good coming sooner rather than later. And a lefty for a lefty. I'm guessing Shenton would be the odd man out when Josh Lowe comes back. Because he seemingly never really plays. Shenton does. So you really have been effectively playing, if you're Kevin Cash and the Rays front office, with 25-man roster instead of a 26-man roster, but I digress. But yeah, they're last in the standings. But hopefully that those reinforcements, when they come, it makes this team a much more powerful one. But yeah, the game last night, though, it was a little bit more. It wasn't clunker for me, but it was incredibly. It could have been as disappointing as a clunker because the team just showed very little to take away from. And again, this is not to minimize what Tarik Skubal did, because what he was doing with that fastball in that bottom right corner of a right-handed hitter, and also like you mentioned off screen, off air, the fastball at the top of the zone. It was masterful. It was a master class of how you're supposed to pitch and how good stuff can make good hitters look silly. But having said that, the Rays just did not look good at all. I mean, Jose Siri, those at bats are getting to be quite rough to watch.
Yeah, 0 for 3, 3 strikeouts. Siri is trying to make a run for Randy Arozarena for worst batting average. He's got a little bit of work to do, not in a good way there, but they both have 1 dots as of right now, and I think we'll talk a little bit more about Randy Arozarena going forward. But yeah, Skubal was amazing. If he keeps this up, he may be the 2014 or 2024 Cy Young winner with the combination of the 4-seam and the sinker, and then a changeup that has 10, 11, 12 mile differentiation between those two pitches. And you combine that with he's a lefty and his delivery is busy. He's got a lot of arms and legs, and I think it's just very difficult for the hitters to be able to time that up. And you mentioned the Rays just coming out flat. We see that sometimes where you come home after a road trip or you face a team like the Yankees in the Bronx, and you come to the Trop before 13,000 facing the Tigers. Sometimes it's just not a good combination. We've seen it in years past where when the Mariners weren't that good of a team, the Mariners, for one reason or another, would just mollywop the Rays a couple years ago.
And I think the series that you're talking about the Mariners series came after a very intense Red Sox series. In Wander Franco was just getting to the team, and it was like a really big series. And yeah, they came out flat against the Mariners. It was like an emotional suckage, out of the room. And that's what we kind of saw yesterday. And, those things are going to happen. These are human beings. It's 162 regular season, but that doesn't stop us from having to talk about it and mention it. And because it was kind of obvious. And talking about Jose Siri's at bats and how, you said 0 for 3 with 3 Ks. Kevin, do you mind playing a little game of what is his strikeout percentage right quick?
Absolutely. His strikeout percentage to this point, I would say between 37 to 40% as it stands.
And that is an incredibly high number and an incredibly high range. And yet you actually are incorrect. It's 42% strikeout rate. This is untenable.
Question. You bring that up. Is it untenable even with his Gold Glove caliber defense?
Yes. 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 I mean, like,
because you might get one play a game. You might get one opportunity a game in center field. But if you go 0 for 3, 0 for 4, 0 for 5, and you're striking out all the time, and I think it's a noticeable sign that this is kind of what you see teams doing now, putting their quote-unquote worst hitter in the ace spot, and that's essentially what they're doing right now.
And let's be honest, too. He right now has an open lane, quote-unquote, just because, DeLuca's not available. I feel like there is going to have to come a time where you do have to be a little bit more selective on when you put Siri up. The defense is amazing and all that, but 42%, that has to come down. It has to come down quick, because you cannot have I don't care how look, Kevin Kiermaier was really a figure for the Rays fandom that you either loved or hated. And those who hated him they always said he has no bat. He has no bat.
Right.
Kevin Kiermaier was not striking out at a 42% range. I don't think Kevin Kiermaier ever reached 30% of a strikeout rate. Yeah, the grounders to second were pretty obnoxious, but this is not okay.
And frankly, I think if Kiermaier was healthier over the length of his career in time with the Rays, his numbers would probably improve, because it's just a case of getting more reps, getting more at-bats, getting more experience, being in the lineup, the transition of I'm injured and I'm back playing and I'm trying to get used to major league pitching. I think all of that is a factor there. And again, not to defend Jose Siri, but he wasn't the only one struggling against Tarik Skubal, but this has certainly been a theme over the last little bit here. And yeah, maybe when the reinforcements come back, you're going to have to do a little bit of a playing time game. I still think, Siri's going to find a way to keep himself in the big leagues long-term, i.e. Javi Baez, where, Javi Baez had some lean years offensively, although he didn't really show it yesterday. He was
pretty good game.
Pretty good there. But, I think if Siri's able to hit 200, he'll find a spot on the major league roster somewhere over the next several years. But that's not really, we want more than that from Jose Siri.
Yeah, you want more than that. And I'll just check. You know what Kevin Kiermaier's highest strikeout percentage was with the Rays?
Probably 26%, 27%, something in that lane.
27.6. 27.6. Okay. So I just wanted to put it out there. Like, the Siria at bats are getting quite bad. So,
start bunting, lay down bunts every single time if you can.
Just try something different. Maybe don't have such a big swing.
Yeah.
And if you're going to the Trop and you're seeing these at bats live, maybe you use Game Time, because Game Time is just the best place to get your tickets. In fact, you can save up to 60% off buying last minute for any type of activity, such as sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and they've got flash deals where you can save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. And my favorite, of course, is the seat views. You get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
We also want to tell you about Policy Genius, which is extremely convenient and time-saving. Policy Genius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help talk you through it. Talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through the process step by step. Easily compare quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. Your work life insurance policy may not offer enough protection for your family's needs. Remember that. Even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. So, Policy Genius gives you unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team. They have no incentive to recommend one insurer over the other, so you can trust their guidance through it all. Thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found the best fit for their specific needs. So check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policy Genius. Head to policygenius.com/LockedOnMLB or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/LOCKEDONMLB. Ulysses, speaking of struggling hitters, we mentioned him briefly. Randy Arozarena, who went 0 for 4 with a K in last night's game. He is hitting a cool 149 with a, you guessed it, 451 OPS right now. What gives with Randy? What the hell?
It's pretty rough right now for Randy. And we're not the only ones that have talked about it, but somebody in the comments said, hey, what are you doing? Why are you not mentioning this? And you know what? I love it. I love it. And we're going to show it. This is the comment. Guys, I love you. This is by @AW547. Guys, I love you, but take a look at Randy's stats over his career. He is not the guy you're claiming he is. Take a look at his 2023 second half stats. They are atrocious. Rays need to trade him ASAP.
Well, here's the issue with trading him ASAP. You're not going to get the value you want for him when he's struggling this mightily. And I'll just go back to second half 2023. I believe we had discussed this previously, not to make excuses or play the blame game. I'm just trying to give some decent reasons why. I think part of the issue was he didn't really truly have an all-star break, and the home run derby wore him out, and he more or less ran out of steam towards the second half. But he's got a track record of 3.5, 4 seasons of doing what he does. When you look at the final stat line at the end of the year, you know what you're going to get from Randy. Now this year, maybe not so much. It remains to be seen. But again, we still have 140 games left.
He's a guy that is hovering the last 3 full seasons, which are basically his only 3 full seasons, around a 125 WRC plus. That is a really good player, hovering around 3.3 F4. It's a pretty good player. Nobody here is claiming that he's Aaron Judge. We're not claiming that at all. We're saying he's one of the best players that the Rays have, and that's it. That's just a fact. We look at the numbers, and he is one of the best players. Now, in 2024, he's definitely not one of the best players, and not production-wise. He is really, really struggling. And I saw this quote on I think it was a David Adler article in MLB.com. And it really caught my attention because Chad Mottola was talking about Randy's desire to use the opposite field this season. Mm-hmm. And in fact, his home runs have been to right field this year. And Chad Mottola said, maybe it is good long-term. Right now, it's not. You don't want to take anything away from him, but you have to stick to your strengths. Sometimes you have to go through it to find out that's not the type of player that I am. This quote spoke so loudly to me. It's basically saying, look, he wants to be this guy, and we've tried to tell him, hey, maybe this is not going to be good for you, and he still wants to do it anyway. And so there's this impasse between the coaching staff and what he wants to do. And right now he wants to do the opposite field approach, and it's something that he hasn't really never done. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So it seems like that's the issue with Randy right now. He's trying something else, trying to use the opposite part of the field, which I agree with Mottola. Ultimately, long-term, that would be a really good thing for him, because if he starts to do that, he would become a better hitter. It would be more difficult to shift against him. And as he gets older and the speed component diminishes, he can still be a good hitter. Right. I'm not claiming him that he can be Derek Jeter or Miguel Cabrera using that opposite field, but it just gives you a little bit more of a cushion to be in the big leagues for a long period of time than normally. But it just seems like right now it's been really difficult for him to make that adjustment as of 22, 23 games so far in the season. Right.
So I guess my question is, I understood why he's trying to go more opposite field, but why now in the middle of the season? I would assume that did he play in any summer leagues or winter leagues? Or not summer leagues, but winter leagues, I should say.
He did not play in winter leagues. He did not also play in summer leagues in Australia. Saved you there, buddy.
There we go. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So no, none of that.
Because I would think if that's the time to figure that stuff out, as opposed to right in the heat of a major league season. And maybe he figures it out, but
do you think he maybe did it in spring training, and it's still like he's still like, no, I did it in spring training, but I still have to, I'm keeping on until May, June, or this is what I'm going to do this whole season. Right. Like maybe that's it. I don't know.
And maybe it came from above, his agents telling him, hey, if you want the big long-term contract and you want to try to nix the naysayers of, oh, he's not going to age well. This is how you attack it and approach it. This is what you need to do. And maybe it's just Scott Boras and his team are in his ear all the time. But I also think that there's got to be some resolution here, because he ultimately is going to have to figure out that I'm going to have to go back to my old way of doing things, because this is just not sustainable over the course of a full season or even a half a season or even the next couple weeks. I have been tracking the leaderboards every day, keeping my eye on the scores, putting all my heart into it. And I'm super pumped to announce I am finally on top. Monopoly Go. I'm killing it right now. You have no idea. And you've probably heard of it because it's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great mobile twist on classic Monopoly, and you can play anywhere, anytime. Explore hundreds of Monopoly boards from Las Vegas to Camelot to the moon while raking in a huge fortune. You can do cool things like charge rent on iconic properties, charge your friends rent on those iconic properties. You can go after their Monopoly money by pulling bank heists and taking wrecking balls to their landmarks. So fun stuff there with Monopoly Go. But probably the best part is the leaderboards, where you can see who's a Monopoly tycoon and who's gone bankrupt. I don't think Stu's gone bankrupt. I think he's doing okay. Actually, he's giving me a run for my money in Monopoly Go. We've been playing offline here and there. So go ahead, get yourself on the charts, download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store and Google Play. I would think and pray and hope that when Josh Lowe returns and Brandon Lau returns, it provides a little bit more protection and some of the spotlight off of him, and maybe opposing pitchers and pitching staffs have other guys that they can hone in and focus on, and that gives Randy a couple more pitches to hit.
Yeah, and I think we've seen it where Randy is hitting now in front of Isak, which is good. Obviously, Isak, we mentioned, he's killing it as per usual.
He's doing the anti-Isak Paredes. Paredes pulls everything, and Randy wants to go the other way. Pulling everything seems to be working for Isak right now. Just saying.
And look, it might make you a one-dimensional type player, but when you're really good in that dimension, who gives, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully this opposite field thing either ends and he can go back to the player that he is, or it starts to work, and then now we can see a whole different side of Randy, and it can be really beneficial for this offense to have more versatility and a little bit less of a sticking to the pattern of each player and what they can do. But yeah, him hitting in front of Isak would be really good, I think, because obviously he would be getting a little bit more better pitches to hit in theory, and then if nobody's behind him to protect him. So hopefully we can see something, because it's about time that we start to see some results, because it's not incredibly early, but it's also not too late either.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because there is an expiration date on Randy's time with Randy, and that may be the end of this year. So if he has a down year, not to say it's going to stay like this for the rest of the season going in October, but I'm hoping the numbers look a lot better. So when the time comes to trade and get some value in return, you can capitalize on that. But yeah, things are not working for Randy right now. And if you look at his Savant page, whiff percentage, 12th percentile, strikeout percentage, 22nd percentile. That's Jose Siri Avenue right there. And I really hope that his struggles at the plate don't have such an impact on his mentality defensively as well, and or in the clubhouse. So there's a lot at play here. Luckily, the Rays have Jose Caballero, who is still doing really good things with the bat, and Ahmed Rosario extending his hitting streak to 14 games. Look, I know that Rosario is not going to hit 359, 360 for the entire year, but I think he could squeeze out a 310 or 320. He could be Jason Bartlett of that 1 year. He could be Jeff Keppinger of that 1 year. Everybody has that year. And Rosario is a career 275 hitter. So he can put up, Herald numbers at the end of the year if it comes to that.
Yeah, he could. I know he's been amazing so far. So I really like the shakeup in the lineup yesterday, putting him at the top of the lineup, because stop with the legacy picks. If you're not hitting right now, you shouldn't be at the top of the order. Like, let's move. Like, that's your job as a manager. It's manage.
So are you saying drop Randy to 6th or 7th until?
Yeah, it's okay. Like, these guys, I mean, I know they have egos and you have to control those egos, but ultimately, what, are you afraid of their ego? Then that should tell you how you stand.
I don't know. I get, maybe it's, Randy he's such the poster child for this organization now that thou who shall not be named is no longer part of the conversation. Thankfully or unthankfully, you got Randy land, you got giveaways, you got a lot of profile with this dude. So there's some things at play there for sure. Other issue with this team thus far?
Just real quick, something. In 2014, the Rays got Heath Bell. If you guys remember, Heath Bell, a 3-time All-Star, just a great closer for the Padres. But in 2014, he wasn't that guy anymore. He wasn't that guy, and he struggled mightily with the Rays. In fact, after 17 appearances, DFA'd, gonzo. So I started saying, is there a Heath Bell in the bullpen right now? Is there a guy right now that is struggling mightily and could be compared to what he went through? And boy, oh boy, did I find it.
Okay.
This is Heath Bell and Chris Davinsky. If you can see, obviously 6 more innings on Heath Bell's side, but ERA worse than Heath Bell. ERA plus very similar, 52 to 53. More strikeouts on Heath Bell's side. Strikeout percentage about the same. Walks more on the side of Heath Bell, but walk percentage, goes to Heath Bell and the good side. But really, it doesn't matter who's good or who's bad in a particular category here. The fact that they're so similar, and how we know what happened to Heath Bell was DFA season after 17 appearances. It's been 7-8 games for Davinsky, and when you look at the numbers here, I mean, it's crazy how similar they are, Kevin. I mean, it's everything. You can't really. I mean, look at the FIP though. The FIP, Heath Bell had a 4.57 FIP. Davinsky has a 9.48, like doubled that. Like, it hasn't been a good start to the season for Chris Davinsky, and I think we're getting to the point of it's not too early to say that he could be on the trajectory to being DFA'd. And for those people that say the changeup,
he does have a nice changeup, but nothing else works. The fastball, like, it gets plastered every time I watch.
It's nuts.
And if he just threw exclusively changeups, I mean, hitters will figure it out eventually. So you got to have more than one good offering to make it work.
You can't be Mariano. You can't just throw cutters up there, right? Like, there's only one Mariano, okay? So I'm just saying the whole Davinsky experiment, I've never really understood it. I know, look, this front office has shown time and time again that they are the best in the biz, especially about how to get a bullpen going and get arms that you've never heard of before, and then squeeze the heck out of them, that they have career seasons. We all know this. This is not to minimize that, but they're also not infallible. No front office is infallible. This might be a point where, hey, maybe this is not working out with Davinsky, and it's not going to. And last but not least, Heath Bell was getting paid. Some of it was with the Diamondbacks that they owed him the money, but essentially his salary that year was $9 million. And so when the Rays DFA'd him, Heath Bell was owed $7.2 million.
So they were willing to eat that amount of money.
Some of it.
Just to say, let's get this crap off the team.
Like $4 million they were owed. They owed Heath Bell. The rest were the Diamondbacks. But at least like 4.3, 4.4 was the Rays. So they said, we would rather pay 4.4 for no production at all, like just leave
Right.
the clubhouse, leave the roster, and we will pay you $4.4 million. Davinsky was signed for 1.5, even less than that, I think. So I think that
not as much of a tie to him.
There's not much financial tie there. So I think there is going to that the DFA conversation. I think it's now allowable to be had. You know, not after 2-3 outings, but now when you have a comparison like this of something that happened in the past and what happened, I think we can now be having this conversation that Chris Davinsky could possibly be DFA very soon.
Yeah, I think you're right on that point. What's crazy is I did not realize that Davinsky's been in the league for 9-10 years. He actually has been an all-star in his past life. He's won a ring. I think it was an all-star with the Astros. But, yeah, something's got to give at some point. I think there's other options you can go to in the bullpen. And like you said, every front office is going to make mistakes and is going to have issues along the way. I think the Rays, every 3 out of 4, every 4 out of 5 moves that they make are really, really good, tremendous, i.e. Caballero, i.e. Ahmed Rosario. I mean, Ahmed Rosario is making up for Davinsky's suck. I mean, yeah, that might be the best deal in baseball when we go back and look at it several months from now. But yeah, I think it's time to make some changes here. The other rub, though, is Pete Fairbanks has hit the IL. So you might you might have to dig deep in the cookie jar to find a couple options there. Which, by the way, while you were discussing all this, Andrew Kittredge is killing it for the Cardinals right now. He's got a 1 ERA, 11 strikeouts, 1 WHIP in 9 innings pitched. Not to go back in hindsight, I do like Palacios, but.
Yeah, thank God Palacios is doing well, because that would really hurt.
It really would. So yeah, now I'll also say this: the bullpen has been improving over the last half dozen games. So I think we're starting to see a turnaround, but I don't think Davinsky is part of those improvements per se. I think
he gets shellacked.
Phil Maton and others.
He gets shellacked every time he's out there. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, and it's got to just be a not that the players think like this, but every time Davinsky's on the mound, it's like, well, we got our work cut out for us. You better be ready to field some balls, or to look high and far and see some balls fly out of the park as well. So that's part of it. All right, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you tomorrow.